Yeah, I met Lenny Tristano when I was looking for a guitar teacher, and I stopped playing blues for a number of years, and I was getting into jazz, and early jazz. I was into Carl Crest, Dick McDonough, Eddie Lang, of course. And I started taking with New York session players and great jazz players like Chuck Wayne and stuff. And it didn't hit me. It just wasn't for me. It seemed very intellectual, and I studied classical music, so I knew music theory, but I didn't understand the jazz, and just, I don't know, the modern jazz I was listening to didn't hit me. And someone suggested going out to Lenny. And Lenny's reputation was, either you loved him or hated him. He was a very strong character. And so I just went out to his house, kind of like Davis, thinking, I just want to meet this guy. And I bought his records. And again, his music was went right over my head at the time. I was like, well, it ain't Gary Davis, that's for sure. And but there was something about it I loved, but I couldn't relate to it musically. But I went out to his house in Queens, and interestingly enough, he lived in Queens, about a mile from Davis's house, and he was also sightless. And they didn't know each other. So I spent half my youth in Jamaica, Queens, on the subway going out there for years, and just my luck. But when I went to Lenny's house, I remember the first lesson, I played for him, and he just said, okay, now let's get you into music. And I didn't know what he meant. And anyway, it just started this whole period of, I just like starting from scratch. He had me playing scales, and even though I knew the theory, he had his own approach and really got into it. And he had me singing solos. And basically, he taught improvisation. He taught all the instruments: guitar, saxophone, horns, singers, bass players, drummers. And I really didn't know what I was studying when I started with him. But I just kept going there. My lessons were 10 minutes long, 20 minutes, and I'm like, going out to Queens for an hour and a half, and I'm like, what am I doing here? And he would just do, I'd do my shit work, he used to call it, and I'd sing for him, and I'd play melodies. No improvising, no songs, we'd never played together. And this went on for about a year, and my lessons were like that. And I'm like, I just don't get this. But, I knew his reputation, I knew some of his students, and I don't know, something just kept going. And then after a while, he just said, okay, now improvise. And I'm giving you the short story here, but he just said, okay, now improvise. And after playing these melodies, I started to play the melodies. And his approach was very strict. And, he just said, study with me, or you're in this house, this is what you're going to do. And it wasn't about the music business. It was just about music. It was really about improvising. He didn't want to talk about music business and guitar tech, and he didn't even play guitar. And I'd say, Lenny, how do you do this? He said, I don't know, figure it out. So. And anyway, and then after a while, through Lenny, I discovered Bird and Fats Navarro and Bud Powell and all these players and Louis. And then a year later, from when I started studying with Lenny, I guess my ears grew, and that was all I could listen to. And all I was listening to was Charlie Parker and Bud Powell and Fats and Prez and all those guys, and that was it. And so I don't know, all of a sudden, it just totally transformed me. And that's what I was into. And I was playing, and then, obviously playing with other people and starting to improvise more, and just my world opened up. And, I wasn't playing any blues at the time. I was just playing jazz, and it was just exciting. It was really just all about improvisation. And he was really not into playing bebop, not into playing swing. To him, it was just jazz was a feeling, and just play your own music. And it was kind of like Davis in a way. His whole thing was just sit there and play music. It wasn't about, don't try to impress me, don't try to, and for a young kid, it was really good, when you're trying to impress everybody. He was like, don't do that with me. So he really kind of kept you honest. And it was all about just sitting there. You don't need a rhythm section, just make music. So it was a really good lesson. And I think, that I always hear him, in Davis, when I play now, it's just don't impress. It takes courage to play slow, with jazz and stuff. Just sit, make music, and just, feel it. And so I don't know. That's the overriding lesson from Lenny, and from Davis in another way, So it's really, it's cool. Harlequin's a dance tune that I put together actually when I was in England, and I was at a workshop once, and they were talking about the difference between blues and English dance music and Celtic music, and I was trying to figure that one out. I don't really know the history of it, but, they're both dance traditions. And so, I started to illustrate some of the Skip James dance steps, some of the Robert Johnson, Charlie Patton, all those Mississippi open tuning things. And then I just got into thinking about it and playing these Mississippi styles and just wanted to put together like a dance tune. And there were tunes also like Spanish Fandango, which is also a little dance tune with a little different meter. And so just, again, that's sort of a composite of Spanish Fandango, a little Skip James, a little Robert Johnson, little Son House, little my own. And it's just sort of, again, that's very improvisatory, and it's just sort of a few themes I kind of latch onto, and in between are these just improv sections. And it's just a lot of fun to play. But I'm trying to think, I'm trying to put it across that it's just sort of, it's dance music. And so it sort of started as a demonstration song, and I just kind of put it together that way. And just a lot of fun to play.